Good afternoon, kiddos. This is Mrs. Red, just giving you a little bit of help with tonight's homework. If you are in my math class, I asked you to finish the day 2 of our fraction division practice, and only the evens. So you're going to do number 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, and 14. And I'm going to help you get started with a couple of your problems. So let's take a look right here at number 2. Number 2 is asking you to divide 9 by 1 and 1/9. Well, I see two things that need to happen here before we do anything. The first thing I need to do is I need to put that 9 over a 1. So now it has a numerator and a denominator. The second thing I need to do is I need to convert this mixed number into an improper fraction. And I do that by multiplying the denominator by the whole number, and then I add in the numerator. So 9 times 1 is 9, and 9 plus 1 is 10. So that fraction rewritten is 10/9. Well, if you look at my work now, it looks pretty messy, doesn't it? So I'm going to take this fraction and this fraction, and I'm just going to rewrite the original problem. So I have 9 over 1 divided by 10 over 9. Once you get here, then you're ready to keep, change, flip is our little shortcut way. But technically what you're doing is you're multiplying by the reciprocal of the divisor, mathematically speaking. So 9 over 1 stays just that. I change the operation from division to multiplication, and then I flip or take the reciprocal of that second fraction. Now, if you have been cross-simplifying, this is the step that you do it. You can't cross-simplify right here. If you cross those off and made them both a 1, you didn't cross-simplify at the right time. You can't cross-simplify until you flip or take the reciprocal of that second fraction. So now, I'm just going to multiply straight across. 9 times 9 is 81, and 1 times 10 is 10. Now, you can leave it like that. A top-heavy fraction is totally fine. But if it bothers you like that, if you'd rather write it as a mixed number, you could write it as 8 and 1/10. Both of those are correct and are the correct answer to the problem 9 divided by 1 and 1/9. Now let's take a look at number 4 from your homework tonight. Number 4's problem is 2 and 1/3 divided by 7/9. And right away, right here, when you see that mixed number, this is the first place that your attention needs to go. We can't work with 2 and 1/3. So here, when I multiply 3 times 2, I get 6. 6 plus 1 is 7. So I've got 7/3, and I'm going to divide that by 7/9. Once we get here, that's where you need to keep, change, flip, or multiply by the reciprocal of the divisor. So 7/3 stays 7/3. I'm going to change the operation from division to multiplication, and then I'm going to flip or take the reciprocal of that second fraction. So now instead of 7/9, it's 9/7. You could cross-reduce in this step right here, because if you look at these diagonal neighbors is always where we look when we cross-simplify. I could divide both of these by 7. I could divide 7 by 7 and make it a 1, and I could divide 7 by 7 and make it a 1. Now, some of you might recognize you could cross-reduce right here too. I'm not going to, because I want to show you that even if you don't, we can still get to the same answer. So I'm going to leave it. So now I'm just going to multiply going straight across. 1 times 9 is 9, and 3 times 1 is 3. So now I have 9/3, or 9 divided by 3. And 9 divided by 3 is 3. Now, if cross-simplifying is not something that you like, or it's not something that makes sense, you could still work with 7 times 9, which would give you 63, and 3 times 7, which would give you 21. And let me just write that fraction. If you had 63 divided by 21, you're going to get the same answer as 3. So no matter what, if you simplify in the middle, if you simplify at the end, no matter what, we get the same answer of 3. Just if you simplify in the middle, you get to work with smaller numbers, and sometimes that helps make less mistakes. Let's take a look at number 6. Number 6 is 2 1/4 divided by 2/7. And I know you know what we need to do first. The first thing we need to do is we need to rewrite that mixed number as a top-heavy fraction. 4 times 2 is 8, and 8 plus 1 is 9. So here I have 9/4 divided by 2/7. Once you've rewritten that fraction and made it all, gotten it ready to go, now you're ready to keep, change, flip, or multiply by the reciprocal. 9/4 is the fraction that we're keeping. I'm not going to do anything with him other than rewrite it. I'm changing that operation from division to multiplication, and then I'm going to take the reciprocal or flip that second fraction. All right, now I'm going to say that cross-simplifying thing again. If we look at these diagonal neighbors, there's nothing I can do to 4 and 7 to make them smaller. They don't share a common factor other than 1, so I can't cross-simplify. And if I look right here at 9 and 2, I can't cross-simplify because they don't share a common factor. So there's nothing I can do in this step to work with smaller numbers. So I'm just going to multiply, going straight across. 9 times 7 is 63, and 4 times 2 is 8. And you can leave it just like that. I know that looks a little funny, but you can leave it like that. There's not a reason why you can't do that. If it bothers you that it's improper and you want to write it back as a mixed number, you would have 7 and 7/8. Either one of these are correct. All right, the last one I'm going to do with you is number 8 from your homework tonight. And number 8 is 7 1/2 divided by 1 2/3. So both of these fractions are presented to you as mixed numbers. So before you do anything, you have to rewrite them as improper fractions. So this guy, you need a little bit more work in this problem before you can actually solve it. It needs a little bit more preparation. 2 times 7 is 14. 14 plus 1 is 15. So I have 15 over 2, or 15 divided by 2. And I'm going to divide that by 3 times 1 is 3. 3 plus 2 is 5. 5/3. Once you do that, once you have rewritten both of those mixed numbers as improper fractions, then you're ready to apply the standard algorithm, which is just multiplying by the reciprocal or keep, change, flip. So 15/2 stays the same. We change the operation from division to multiplication, and then I'm going to flip or take the reciprocal of that second fraction. So instead of 3/5, instead of 5/3, I have 3/5. Now, if you want to cross-reduce in this step, you might notice that you can right here. But if you don't like that, then don't. And in fact, I won't simplify in this step, just to show you that we can still get to the same answer. When I multiply going straight across, 15 times 3 is 45, and 2 times 5 is 10. I can leave it top heavy, but I know 45 and 10 both share a common factor. I can divide them both by 5. Now, if you cross-reduced, you already did this step. 45 divided by 5 is 9. 10 divided by 5 is 2. You can leave it just like that. A top-heavy fraction is fine. If you don't like it that way, 9/2 is 4 1/2. Those are the same fraction, just written in two different ways. But either way, that is the answer to number 8. I would like you to do number 10, 12, and 14, all on your own. But look back at this and follow the same kind of steps. And I want to invite you too to look at my work. Look at how much work I had to do to solve those. I'm not solving these problems in my head, and you shouldn't be trying to either. These problems take a few steps. And when you organize your work and you label what you're doing, you're a lot less likely to skip a step. And this is one of those, these are some of those problems that sometimes if you try to do too much of it in your head, you end up with the wrong answer, and then you can't tell where you're going sideways because you don't have the work. You just kind of have it all in your head. So don't be afraid to use a piece of paper. Don't be afraid to, kind of stretch it out a little bit so that way you know that you're doing these precisely. See you tomorrow, kiddos.